What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. Okay, actually I shouldn't really be doing a normal intro for this video because there's an obvious issue. The last part was uploaded about a year and a half ago by this point. I know, it's been gone for a while. It's not because I abandoned it or anything, it's because I just got so sidetracked with everything else. Part of it was me procrastinating, getting original art, focusing on other projects, etc, etc. But now we're finally back. It has been a while, I even had to go back myself to remember parts of the story, so I'll be linking a playlist above in case you missed the last few parts. That way you could watch them and refresh your memory before or after watching this video. But I assume if you're here, you're already somewhat familiar with the story at least. For this video, we'll be setting a like goal of 3,500 likes. Once we hit that, I'll continue with another part, and unlike last time, there won't be a huge hiatus in between. It's just difficult getting art for it, you know? Anyways, let's pick up where we left off last time. So I want to start off by addressing something too. I decided I'm not going to include too many more characters in the series. I've already added a very good chunk of them, and adding too many Dragon Ball characters will kind of take away from the My Hero Academia story too much. I do have one more major character in mind to add down the line, but I won't say who it is. Although, it's someone who was asked for a lot, and you'll have to wait for that. But yeah, just a fair disclaimer to not expect me to add other characters. Or at least not too many more. As for Piccolo, he's lucky that he got away. He has no idea of what to do now, and escapes into the shadows, and he considers, there is the League of Villains. Maybe they could help him out somehow. Maybe teaming up with them will work. Or maybe it'll be an awful idea. He's not too sure, but he needs to lay low for a while. That's the only thing that he does know. Remember how I mentioned that I looked back on the past few parts because I forgot some stuff? Well, besides how awkward the recording of my voice sounded, there was another issue that I saw with the last video. I need to cover more of what's happening with All Might, or with the lack of him. With All Might now entering retirement, there is a need for a new number one, and naturally the two picks would either be Endeavor or Goku. But there is a big issue with these picks. For Endeavor, he's completely denying it. It's being handed to him without a contest. He doesn't want to accept the position of number one if he isn't actually number one. It's more of an issue of pride, and Goku's pretty surprised to see this. He wonders why Endeavor's so hesitant. He knows that Endeavor wants to be number one, but Endeavor explains, not like this. This isn't how he's supposed to get it. And Goku can kind of see where he's coming from. He does somewhat feel the same way. But with everything in such disarray right now, someone needs to take the mantle as number one. And Goku isn't too sure about it, but he's eventually announced as the new number one hero in the country. We're now entering a world without All Might. But with Goku also being a pro hero, this is greatly going to change things going forward. As for the students, a few different things are going to be happening for them. For one, they're all asked to actually live at Yuuei, much like it went normally. Obviously for Gohan, he's going to accept. With Goku being a pro hero and all, he agrees with Yuuei staff and sees that this is a good option. Now the students need to actually work towards their provisional hero licenses, as well as training and creating a special move. It seems a lot of students already know how they want to utilize their quirk, and as for Gohan, he is pretty learned with his quirk, but still, he feels like there's some stuff that he doesn't know yet, some things that he could use to his advantage. One of the things that Goku taught him is actually using his tail as an extra limb, something that he could use much more effectively in a fight. Before, it just seemed to have no purpose. He tried to implement this, but it didn't really work out too well. But now, with Goku's help, he's actually learning this. It's like him having third arms, although it's on his back, so that's kind of weird. But hey, maybe he could use this in his training, maybe creating a special move with it. Although, he's still not sure. He ends up working alongside Deku because the two of them are in a similar situation. They don't know exactly what they want to try and do for their special moves. But Gohan gets an idea, one that he used a while back, and he has a pretty fitting name for it, inspired by one of his mentors. That beam of energy he created that one time, during the sports festival, that could be one of his signature moves. He'll just call it the Kamehameha. It's perfect, and it pays homage to one of his teachers. He also remembers another move that he used, another signature move that he can utilize in fights. Deku is actually the one to suggest this to Gohan, remembering how cool it looked and how powerful it could be. It was when he propelled himself up off the ground, using it to charge up a punch with immense speed and power. You know what would be a really cool name for that? The Dragon Fist. Deku thinks it's awesome. He has no idea where the name Dragon came from, but hey, it sounds cool as hell. It seems Gohan's really getting into this, although Deku still needs to work on things for himself. He needs to completely change up his style of fighting. Of course, the two can't work together forever. They do need to work a bit on their own, but Gohan does get inspired by Deku. He's completely changing up his style, starting to use his legs as his main source of power. If he could change his style that radically, maybe Gohan can as well. He could feel it. He knows there's something that he's been working towards. Not a move, but some sort of technique. A way to utilize his power more efficiently, more effectively, for him to have more output than ever before. The two want to help each other unlock different abilities, and Deku notes something. He remembers. He and Gohan have worked together in severe moments, and he remembers. Gohan has intense moments of rage or determination, much like himself, and whenever Gohan does that, he notices that Gohan's able to summon huge amounts of power, as long as he has enough fuel for it. By now, Gohan's already a lot more efficient, being able to use less calories for more power, and he can get more energy. Because remember, that is a big part of how he uses his power. And Deku wonders, maybe, just like he's trying to do with One for All, Gohan could probably amp up the output somehow. Besides the fact that he's getting more efficient with it, he's getting more used to it. It might have been dangerous before to try this, but the two of them recognize that their powers have similar downsides. Of course, Deku can't reveal everything about his power, but he could use it to at least help Gohan somewhat. The two take more time to train together, even outside of class, but they do have to be careful in order to not be caught. Their powers are very different, but also do retain some similarities. This training that they're doing, even if it's kinda off the book and they're not supposed to do it, well, it could be beneficial and have really great results. Following this, we have the actual exam for the licenses itself. Although, Gohan's kind of in a weird situation for this. With the whole class working together, he's not really too sure how to apply his quirk with this. He's used it in a setting for fighting before, sure, but working with his team in order to try and defend something, this is different. This is weird. He has to make sure that he's not hit, while also trying to hit other people and eliminate them. And especially with everyone being split up eventually, Gohan's eventually left completely alone, with no idea of what to do now. He was lost before, but this is even worse. Although, there is an upside. He is one of the strongest in the class anyways, and he's able to use his quirk pretty effectively, so that could help him move around, and without his classmates nearby, he doesn't have to worry about accidentally hurting them. Although, there is another big issue. As one of the strongest in the class, he also is a priority target, meaning he's in trouble. He's going to be targeted right away. But he actually might be able to use something to his advantage here. His teachings from Goku and Roshi. The limited martial arts knowledge that he has from Roshi could really help, and as for the training from Goku, utilizing his tail might work too. Remember, he could pretty much use it as an extra arm by now. Combine that with martial arts knowledge and it creates something very interesting. It's essentially Gohan's own style of martial arts. Of course, he has consulted Ojiro too, someone else who knows martial arts to some extent and also has a tail. He can employ methods from his friends, his teachers, and his father, and it all merges together into this. Combine that with Gohan's other abilities, and it makes him a very agile fighter. Instead of relying too much on offense, he focuses on defense, trying to defend himself and make sure he gets away from everyone. This realization actually makes everything pretty easy for him. He's able to avoid people with pretty little effort. And of course his own attacks are powerful too. With basically 3 arms, that's 3 arms that he can throw balls with. And with his destructive powers regardless, he's able to destroy parts of the ring and use it to his advantage, either as a cover for escape, or making it trickier for his opponents to get to him. Although, it kinda sucks because he is one of the first to finish and he has no idea of what his team is doing. He hopes they're all okay though. The next exam is even more interesting, because now, this quirk is being used for rescue abilities. Which is, once again, another thing Gohan never even considered. He's been so focused on using his moves and his quirk offensively. Both of these exams are allowing him to use them defensively, as well as for rescue now, which is an interesting change of pace. And he comes to learn that his quirk is actually pretty well suited for this. Not only does it provide him the strength and speed that he needs to help save people, but allows him to reach high places too. Remember, he could jump pretty high by charging his legs and charging an attack to propel him. And that third limb really does come in handy. Obviously he was able to use it before, but not like this. He never used it so efficiently. Although this does go well for Gohan, he does realize he has a lot of work to do. Goku's even in the stands watching on, trying to see how Gohan's developing his powers. Surprisingly enough, even Roshi's there too. They want to see how he's performing, how he's utilizing both of their teachings. Goku is intrigued to see all of this. Gohan does have similar abilities to him, but not entirely. He's also completely different, mainly because of how his quirk works. It's not just Goku's quirk. It's a combination of his and Chi-Chi's quirk, on top of an evolution of both of those. He knew Gohan had potential, but he might have more than he ever thought. Although, Endeavor takes note of this too. As the number 2 hero, something he willingly accepted, his son is also held up to high standards too. Mainly by Endeavor himself. Endeavor still wants to earn the top spot. I mean, Goku's not really too fond of it. He only accepted it out of necessity and the stability of the heroes. They do need a number 1 to look up to, but Endeavor is still determined to improve himself and get this spot. But also his son has a rival just like him. It seems in this really weird turn of events, Endeavor and Goku became rivals unknowingly, although it's mainly a one-sided thing. Tell me if this sounds familiar. But also Endeavor sees it with their sons. Of course Shoto and Gohan seem to get along, but he still wants Shoto to be the best he could possibly be, surpassing even Gohan. Becoming the number 1 hero one day, his quirk is built for it, but he does take note of Gohan's abilities as well. And also that Deku kid. Eventually the exam ends, and Gohan obviously does pass. And following this, there's not really too much of note. Of course, Deku and Bakugo still fight, but that doesn't involve Gohan, and surprisingly, the 2 of them get caught. Well, pretty unsurprisingly, but still, Gohan's surprised to hear this because, well, they were kind of playing with fire. He's surprised that they didn't get caught beforehand training, although it's not the same as the sparring that those 2 were doing. And this does have some effects on Deku and Bakugo. Deku is on house arrest due to acting up and fighting, and just like normal, he's feeling pretty separated from his class for a bit. Not just mentally, but he's physically not there in the classroom, and he's missing out on a lot of stuff. Of course, Ida's pretty strict about this. Deku does want to be caught up in everything, but with Ida being Ida, he thinks that this serves Deku right. But as for Gohan, he does try and help catch Deku up, telling him everything that's going on, and even offering to help him out with chores, which isn't his responsibility, and Deku's surprised to see this. But this is mainly so Gohan could pry a bit. He's curious. What happened between him and Bakugo? He's glad they didn't get caught training as well, but he's interested to hear more about this. And even with all this, he still suggests that they should train more sometime. Deku's a bit shocked to hear this, and he's a bit opposed to it because he doesn't want to be caught again and get in more trouble. But Gohan then tells him he already has an idea of how to use more of his power, and if the two of them continue training together, maybe they could work more on it. This could apply to Deku too. As for Gohan, he realizes if he summons enough power at once, he can unlock something brand new, a superpowered state, a much more powerful version of the Saiyan. He's not sure when or how he could utilize this, or if he can at all. It's like what Deku suggested to him. It's kind of like what he does with One For All. It's dangerous, but he could probably control the energy that he's expelling. And if he expends enough of it at once to buff himself, this could be his new technique. Of course, he does have the other two he developed, the Kamehameha and the Dragon Fist. But this would be something else, a new state of power. He has no idea of what else to call it, but he does have a name in mind, the Super Saiyan Man. A state where he charges so much power that he's temporarily buffed to a certain point. Although, he's not sure if he's going to be able to pull this off, and how to even pull it off. And that's why he needs to train with Deku again. The two are working towards something similar. Deku wishes he could reveal more about his power to Gohan. Gohan does know a lot by now, but not enough. And Deku can tell that whatever he's learning and trying to apply to his own power, Gohan could use that help too. The two begin to discuss this more and more, although they keep it low-key. They do need to make sure they stay out of trouble, especially with all the eyes on Deku right now. And even though they can't train, they can discuss at least. One day while Gohan's helping Deku with chores, they're taking out some trash, and they eventually end up meeting someone very interesting. It's one of the top 3 students, and he's hiding inside of a wall. Of course I'm talking about Mirio, but why is he watching them and what does he want to actually tell them? Well, he doesn't say much, he eventually does disappear. But then they see him in class the next day, with the big 3 actually meeting 1A. Soon enough, they're going to begin their work studies, and a lot is about to change for everyone, not just for the students either. The heroes too also have their own problems. Endeavor and Goku are facing some issues, mainly Endeavor, he's not really well liked regardless. As for Goku, he is more liked by the general public, but still, it's weird having people accept him as the number 1. People aren't really warming up to it. If it was Endeavor in that situation, there definitely would be less acceptance. Which is another reason why Goku got this position, but he realized he needs to earn this position. Even though he got this promotion, he saw how Endeavor was feeling. He needs to earn this somehow, make things right. He might be somewhat accepted by the general public, and as a hero he's pretty well liked, but as the number 1, no one's sure yet. No one knows who could actually replace All Might, if anyone, if Goku can ever reach that spot one day. Besides the heroes and students, there's other things going on with the villains too. Let's introduce Overhaul. Of course he still does meet the League of Villains, but he also meets another group of people, Piccolo's gang. Much like the League of Villains, he's looking to join forces with other people. The encounter with the League of Villains doesn't go too well, but with Piccolo, they're in a similar situation. Both can benefit from this alliance, and Piccolo realizes this too. He and his group have been in disarray. He has considered going to the League of Villains, but maybe with Overhaul on his side and his crew, this would be even better. They seem a lot more formal than the League of Villains. An alliance between the two wouldn't really be so bad. It kinda is what Piccolo needs, and he avoids having to team up with the League of Villains. It seems Overhaul has a plan, a pretty interesting one. Thankfully Piccolo's very level-headed and pragmatic, and he's intrigued to hear about what he has planned. Everyone's entering new chapters in their lives. The students are beginning their work studies. The pro heroes are trying to deal with all the changes after All Might's retirement. The League of Villains is doing their own thing. And as for Piccolo and Overhaul, they each have found a new and unlikely ally. But where is Gohan going to be doing his work study? Well, I think the answer is pretty obvious. His father is a pro hero, specifically the number 1 hero. Of course he has his own agency. He's going to be working alongside Goku, as well as getting tips and tricks from someone else that we'll introduce soon enough. His mother. So, what'll the work study be like? What'll Goku's agency actually be like? And we haven't seen much of Chi-Chi, but who is she in this scenario? We'll be covering that next time. This is where we'll leave off for now. So, what did you guys think about this part? And what do you think is going to happen next time? Leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. I'll be sure to check them out to see what you guys think. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like. And let's try to hit that like goal from the beginning of the video so we can get another part of this series. If you haven't already, why not subscribe? As well as hitting the bell icon so you're notified about any future uploads on my channel, including more parts of this series. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.